This is the Tin Lizzie stitch machine. It has a Lizzie stitch regulator, which has the regulation on both of the handlebars. We have the needle up, needle down, and also the Lizzie stitch function, as well as a manual function. What we're looking at here is the Tin Lizzie 18 regulator controls. The Lizzie stitch is a stitch regulator that actually starts when you start, stops when you stop. If I wanted to start the stitch regulator, I could hit start on either side and it would work. This is the manual stitch. Manual stitch is a speed control. Speed control lets you set the speed at whatever speed you like that you're comfortable in, and it will start immediately at that speed. If you go 15 miles an hour, it's going to start 15 miles an hour right off the gate. Over here on this side is my speed control, where I can actually turn and set my speed. Going back to the Lizzie stitch, all I do is push the button. I'm now on the Lizzie stitch. The Lizzie stitch is a stitch regulator where I can start off slowly and speed up. It'll keep the speed I'm going to go. And I can set my stitches per inch by this knob on this side. Then if I want to stop, I can hit stop and it will actually stop. Let's start the Lizzie stitch. I'm going to hit start, lift my hand off, and move my machine. I can stop, make a square corner, come over, stop, make a square corner. You can make those points very explicit. When I'm ready to stop, I can either hit stop, which will stop immediately, or I can wait about 6 seconds and it'll stop automatically. Okay, we're going to go to the manual stitch, which again is your speed regulator. So when I hit start, it's going to actually start stitching at whatever speed I have it set for. And if I move fast, I will get large stitches. The stitches depend on how fast I move the machine or how fast I set the actual speed. And again, to stop, I just hit stop. To bring my thread up, I'm going to hit the needle down, needle up, pull off to the side, bring it back, hold my 2 threads, and start stitching. After I've stitched where I want to stitch, all I have to do to finish this now is turn off my Lizzie stitch, pull the machine forward, go back, do a needle down, needle up, pull forward, grab the 2 threads and cut in between the 2. And when you go off to the side, the 2 threads will stay up at the top and the other one travels so we don't have a string following us on the bottom. Okay, we have a bobbin case. There's a washer inside the bobbin case which pushes up against the bobbin. We put our bobbin in going clockwise into the groove and come over to the opening. That's how it needs to be threaded, and then we want to check to see, and right now that's much too loose. So there's a screw. This is our tension screw. If we think of that tension screw as a minute or seconds, every second means a lot. So if I turn, I don't want to get a screwdriver and turn it 1/4 of an inch. All right, what we want is to have a slow motion fall. All the tension is set by the bobbin. We're going to put it through the little tail here, which holds the thread right up underneath the needle. But all the tension, this is the main tension, and we have to set the tension for the thread that we're using in the bobbin case. We're going to come underneath. We're not going to lift up on the lever here. We're just going to take it as is and put it in the bobbin area here. Put it in straight until you hear the click. I put my bobbin thread on the first spool area here and have the threading go back from front to back. Then I'm going to come down and go through the eye of the tension. Bring it around the tension discs. back through the under eye of the tension. And then back to the bobbin. I'm going to put a bobbin back here in the back. I wind it clockwise around 2 or 3 times. Then I take the thread that is coming off the spool and wrap it around 2 or 3 times, and that locks the thread in so that now I can cut it and it won't unwind, and I push the lever over so it locks. Now when I run the machine, a bobbin will always be running. The thread for the upper part of the machine, I use the second one here. Now I'm going to bring the thread from the back to the front. Always have the top guide here over the spools, or else it won't work properly. We're going to go through the guides. I'm going to go from right to left, then right to left again, then right to left again. Then I'm going to come down to the next guide. I'm going to go up and back down. On most sewing machines, you have a foot lift. And what the foot lift does is it opens up the tensions so that you can get your thread within that tension. So if you lift up on this, it lifts up on the foot and opens your tension. The problem is, if you don't put it down, your stitching will have no tension. So we have to remember, if we lift it up, we must put it down. I'm going to go through the guide right above the tension area. Then I'm going to come around the tension discs. Now I do have the foot up, so that's loose. I'm still going to floss it. It's going to come around and go around the wire, come back down, and you can see that wire going down. Then I'm going to come back up. Now I'm going to put my foot down so I don't forget to lower it. So that closes my tension, and now I'm going to have tension. Now I'm going to go through the take-up bar, goes from back to front. Then I come back through a guide. And then we're going to come down to the needle. There's always a hole, a guide above the needle. We must go through that guide. And then we'll go through the needle. Now the needle has a groove in the front of it, and you can put your fingernail in the groove. That groove always has to be to the front. We don't have a flat back on this needle like we do with our regular sewing machines. It is completely round. So it is possible to get the needle in backwards. The scarf, the cutout of the needle, goes to the back, and that groove always goes to the front. So what we do in order to make sure that it's going straight back is we come over here, get a straight pin, and put it in the eye of the needle. If the needle is perpendicular to you, then it's going to be straight in. If it's if the needle is tilted to the right or to the left, you run the risk of throwing off your tension, having your thread split, or not creating a stitch at all. You have to have your needle in straight, and you have to have the eye of the needle going straight back. Then we're going to go through the eye of the needle, and we're threaded. We talked about the bobbin tension as being 60 seconds, and every second meaning a lot. Up here on your top tension, this is your secondary tension, your fine tuning. I can turn this a whole turn and it will mean very, very little. So if I railroad on the bottom, if my thread is very loose on the bottom, then I'm going to turn this probably 2 or 3 full turns. If you start turning it a quarter of a turn, you'll be there all day because it won't make any difference. So don't be afraid to turn a half turn or a full turn up on the top. This is the Tin Lizzie frame. It's the newer frame. It has the 2 poles in the front. The bottom pole is actually the backing pole. The top is the top of the quilt. So what we're going to do is we have our backing pole. And we lay the quilt so that the top of the back is facing the floor, because that would be your right side. Okay, then we're going to roll onto the backing pole, and we're going to take the backing over to the take-up pole, pin it, so that we can roll the backing up on the take-up pole. Then we're going to lay our batting in, and we're going to put our top on, and we're going to bring our top up to match, to fit onto our back. Pin it to the take-up pole and roll the take-up pole to have all 3 sandwiched together. Then we're going to take our machine and we're actually going to stitch straight across to tie them all together. So you've got your backing, your batting, and your top. The quilt gets larger and sets on the base of the machine. So we have to lift up on these inner poles so that we stay off the bed of the machine. And remember, we're always here to help you.